Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Fortitude. Today we just having a general discussion, part of this life that me and John have talked about our daily back and forth and talks. We were talking yesterday evening, and I told him, you know what? Let's put a recording together tomorrow. General discussion. Things going on. Things been happening. It's been the holidays. It's been that crazy time of the year where everybody's busy. Everybody's going here, going there. But it's a joyous time. It's absolute gift of a time. Welcome
Brother,
in, John.
how you doing after the holidays?
I'm doing good.
Hey, anybody
busy.
that follows, go ahead, Todd.
I said, busy doesn't even begin to cover it, but hey, it's been a complete blessing.
Anybody that follows me and Todd, especially me on Facebook, knows that, man, last weekend was a special day, especially for Todd and for Seth to baptize four of our dear brothers that are part of the Gapsman group. And all four of you all go to church together, don't you?
That's right, we do.
Yep. And then, so I know that Tony and Ken are part of the recovery program. Is Chuck part of that too? And Carlos?
Chuck, all four of those are in Gapsman and in No Longer Bound.
No Longer Bound. Recovery
right.
ministry there.
Yep.
At Christ Central in LaBelle. Man, what a great, it was awesome. It was awesome. And what's funny, Todd,
and the thing is, it wasn't just them. It was their family there.
Yeah.
In support of their coming to Christ and being baptized. It's just tremendous. And the work's not done there. Because there was family members that were definitely listening, intrigued. Conversations continued afterwards that only God can bless.
Oh, I got you loud and clear now, bro. I don't know what I've done, but I have got you rocking and rolling in my ears right now. You sound good, bro.
Hey, that's what
you got to step on that mic now, I guess. I guess I can back off just a little bit if you want to. But hey, Todd, listen, man, you're right. Family there. I mean, even Chuck's wife showed up, man. That was awesome.
His wife, his mother-in-law, his in-laws. So, yeah, I mean, and then you had Carlos and his family, his dad and mom and sister and her two kids. Then you had Ken's wife, Crystal, was there.
Yep.
Then, of course, blessing. me and Amanda, Tony, they're in support of Tony. Tony's my brother-in-law. Then you had Seth and his wife
would have been there if I'm not. Now listen, his wife would have been there, but she thought it was just a men's thing.
Unfortunately, I didn't clarify that in enough time. My sister, I love her to death, but unless it's spelled out, she's going to duck and dodge.
So that was just that was normally we have on our Gapsman meeting. We do that at Todd's, and so we relocated so we could do it. And here's the funny thing, Todd. So Seth was talking about how cold the water was, stuff. And I had just posted up on Facebook, I think either back in West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee. I think it was West Virginia. Anyway, wherever it was, excuse me, everybody, wherever it was, I just ate and now I'm drinking coffee, so it's hard to tell what's going on. It was good. Anyway, there's snow on the ground, and you can see one of the dudes all stiffed up in the water. It was just funny, but I didn't hear that. They're baptizing, man. That water's cold, bro. And they had no waders on either, Todd. The baptizers had no waders on.
Wow.
And even Todd's waders leaked.
Little bit. I just went too deep. That was all that was.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. But when you're dealing with two guys that are 6 to 8 inches taller than me.
Oh yeah. Big boys, son.
Yeah.
Especially Ken. I think Ken's the tallest one of all of them.
Right.
Chuck's just a bit. If Chuck could stand straight up and wasn't bent over with his help.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's one of those miracles, those walking, talking miracles that we talk that are among us today. From 6 months ago, whenever I first met him on a regular walker, to now only being on a cane, and at times no cane at all, just walking.
Wow. Yeah, he was so. Now, listen, we don't want to give you too much about Chuck because we're hoping to get him on the podcast. And here's the thing, man. Here's something I want everybody to know that we, this year in 2025, Todd and I are committed to making sure we have more female guests on the program. Now, we know of one that is committed to come on. Austin's mother, Elisa, has told us that she would come on. We haven't got it scheduled yet, but that's one to look forward to. Amanda, Todd knows that. Amanda, if you're listening, you've got an open invitation. We may have a special guest or drop-in guest later on, and I hope we do. But so, Amanda, I've told Amanda several times, you have an open invitation. You don't need to ask. You tell us when, and then we'll make it. We'll make it possible. Nobody has to ask you. But we want to reach out to our female listeners as well, or to those out there, because it's not just men, Todd, that need discipleship. It's just not men that have a story of what Christ has done in their life. Christ died for our female companions as well as he did any male companion.
Amen. Absolutely. And a lot of times those stories are way more powerful than the stories us guys got.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
How many men knelt at the feet of Christ, washed his feet with their tears, and wiped it clean with their hair?
I can only think of one example, and it wasn't a man.
It wasn't a man. Nope.
But those Pharisees were standing there going, "What are you doing?"
And that's just like the first ones to go to the tomb, the last ones to stay there with. It's the women, and we're out. If you read your Bible, I'm not making this up. Read your Bible; it's there. The men were the ones that cowered and ran.
Yes, entirely.
And Jesus' mother would have stayed right there at the foot of the cross, but Jesus himself said, "Who was it that he told?" Said, "Please take my mother away." John, right?
That's
said,
right.
Take my mother away.
Yep.
He didn't want her to sit there and see it.
That's it.
Well, we took a little bit of a twist on this one, didn't we?
Hey.
Not quite Ephesians.
Oh, we were talking before we came in on studio, and I was telling John, because he was saying that he's got his Bible, the last one where he had rededicated and one he continues to carry, but he was saying it's smaller than most. And it was the one that he preached from when he was preaching. I was making a point, and I wanted to wait till we were on. Why is that? Yeah, exactly. That most teachers and preachers, now I may be wrong, use a smaller Bible.
Well, now hang on. So I don't know if I can answer it, but I'm going to show you one more Bible. Hang on.
Okay. I've just noticed that over time, when I see a preacher stand up in the pulpit, they have a smaller Bible. And when I say small...
Yeah, Todd's got a big one. You can see the difference, kind of the difference in these two.
Right.
And now there's a bit, when I open this Bible up, so this Bible, the one I call my smaller one.
Right.
You can see how small, all right?
So how small the print is.
Now this one, the print's small for a reason. See the wide margins?
I see the wide margins.
Charles Stanley preached out of one of these for his whole life. That's why I have this. When Evie and I moved from Morgantown, West Virginia, to go to Greenville, South Carolina, for me to go to school with Bob Jones, Pastor Terry Hagedorn. So, Pastor Terry, if you ever listen to this, they bought me this Cambridge Bible, Wide Margin Bible, and had it engraved. And that's Calvary Baptist Church bought me this and sent me on my way.
That's right.
And one of the reasons why I carried this one, Todd, was because I could write my notes in the side of it.
Yep.
But also, I have sermons in here. that if I was ever somewhere on vacation or whatever, visiting somewhere, and they asked me to preach, I had sermons in here already.
There you go.
Now this one is a Schofield Bible, and everybody's like, "My gosh, you got Schofield," and
We
I
were
know
talking
Bo's
about that yesterday too. You know, that's quite the blessing that in my walk that I consider to be a blessing is having not grown up in a church,
Yep.
I didn't gain all that church talk and religious talk and I was going to say jargon, but it's not jargon. It's language. Now I have to ask a lot of times, what exactly are you talking about?
So I don't want to get into dispensationalism. Now Bo got in. That's what Bo was talking about in our last Gapsman, where he was talking about the Schofield. It may have even been at the Christmas dinner, because everybody likes Schofield because of his notes in the Bible.
Right.
And now he's a dispensationalism. I mean, you just go look it up, and you can get. I'm not getting into all that. I'm not Zach Dash, not yet, now, or the Unashamed podcast. So email Zach Dasher on there or message him, and I'm sure he'll explain to you a lot better than I can dispensationalism. But in Ephesians, that Todd and I are going to talk about, and I just read this. I was trying to look for it real quick, but I read this morning. It's in the first 3 or 4 chapters of Ephesians. It talks about dispensation or dispensationalism in here, and that's not why like I said, that's a story for another day, or it's a conversation for another day. But Evie did this. All these tabs on here.
Right.
Evie did that. She did mine on her Bible as well. And I've never really memorized all the books of the Bible, so I know there's going to be some of them out there. So you're dying going to hell because you don't know that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Grace covers it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Whether you know all the books or not, if you can use these and turn, you can get to any
You can
book.
find them. Exactly.
That's right.
I know about where they are, and that's all that matters. I can get to it fast enough.
So we were talking about Prince, and John talks about my Bible, but you can definitely tell this is called a super giant print, but it's so I don't have to have my glasses, and I don't have to go to a bifocal to be able to look down and read and look up and still see. So, hey, the benefit.
I'm done beyond that point, brother. I gotta have glasses. I can't go without them now. I can go without them, but I'm not. It's going to take me 2 or 3. I'm not going to be able to read anything. It's going to take me 2 or 3 days for my eyes to adjust, so I don't get dizzy and headaches and get sick. But
dizzy and headaches.
Man, yeah,
wow.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Dizzy and headaches would be a generous explanation of the last week and a half.
Right. So hey, praise report, man. So I told you about. Well, let's back up. So right at the holidays, my stepmother lost her mom. I think it was right at Christmas, either Christmas Day, Christmas, the day after Christmas, somewhere through there. My stepmother's mother died. She was 91 years old, I believe. And dude, my sister went and visited with her.
Right.
Just a few days before she passed, she said, "John, you would have never thought anything." And that's the way it is, man. I mean, the woman was blessed the way she went, if you want to know the truth about it.
Right.
I mean, it's the perfect way to go, if you're going to go.
Well, we're all going to go.
Yeah. If the Lord tarries, we all going. So even if he tarries, we're still going.
There you go.
So we're going to get called out one way or another. We're going out of here.
That's right.
Whether it's with our eyes open or our eyes closed, one way or another. So then we found out that about that same time, my stepmother's nephew had gone on a respirator, had been put on and was in a coma. And at the same time, my brother-in-law and his wife, his wife's sister apparently had a stroke in the bed, and they had to rush her. She was unresponsive, went to the hospital. They said that she had stroked in the center. No. Yeah, in the center of her brain this time, somewhere, and that they didn't give the family any hope, and she was on a respirator. Both of them in the last 2 days, day before yesterday, Cindy woke up, said, I want a Diet Pepsi and I want to go home.
There you go.
And JJ woke up yesterday or today and was talking to everybody and was very responsive.
Hey, he heals who he wants to heal.
That's right,
He's still a miracle worker. With the conversations that we've had on this podcast, if you don't believe he's a miracle worker, go back and listen to some of them. There's walking and talking miracles that absolutely amazing.
Yep. And then, so that brings me to this. A dear Todd's nephew, Hunter, has gotten a not so good, not really diagnosis yet. He hasn't gone to an oncologist right? He hasn't been to an oncologist yet?
Not yet. That's coming. But what they found was spots in his lymph. He had a lymph node that was swollen. And that's what caused to be checked out. Now, the ear, nose, and throat specialist that he went to has investigated all of that and sent out tests, and they came back cancerous in the lymph nodes, and they scheduled out a surgery for the lymph nodes. But in the meantime, he's going to the oncologist because through the testing on the lymph nodes, they found spots on his lungs. Now he's going to an oncologist, and the oncologist, I'm sure, will order a PET scan and evaluate how to go about this going forward. But we're in that stage of waiting to get into the oncologist and just keep him lifted up in prayer. It's I've been saying the whole time, this is going to be one of those that God uses completely for his glory, because there's going to come a point where they're going to look and there's not going to be anything there.
That's what I'm praying for. So, Hunter, we got you back, buddy.
Absolutely.
There's a bunch of us. We got you back. We're in the gap with you. We're believing. And we know, folks out there, that there are people everywhere. I see it on Facebook every day. Know this, God's no respecter of person, and he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't love you or doesn't care for you or that you've done anything. We know that that's not true.
Sometimes the answer is no.
That's right.
And we have to be, just as much as we accept his yes, we also have to accept that no.
Well, it's just like the blind man that was crying out to Christ. And was he blind and lame? Forgive me, folks, but I think it was blind. And the disciples said, was it something that he did or his mother and father did?
Here? Yep.
And he said, no. He said he was born that way so that the Father may be glorified in him.
That's right.
So just know this, man, there's a reason for it. And you may not understand it. We may not understand it. We may not like it. And we may, here's what I will tell you. You can kick, scream, yell, but
He's
talk
big
to
enough.
him. He's your dad.
That's right.
He's our Father. And he's been listening to it for a long time.
There's nothing you're going to say that he hasn't heard.
Nope.
Endless times.
Check this out, Todd.
Yep.
Because of the cross, there's nothing he ain't felt that you feel.
That's right.
That we feel.
Tempted in every way is what the word says. Tempted in every way. But he was the perfect. He was the perfection that still went to the cross.
Did you watch the Unashamed episode where Robichaud and Chad Wright were on there together?
I did. Yeah.
Did you hear when Chad Wright was? I mean, I listened to Chad. Chad's he's a former Navy SEAL, and matter of fact, J.D. Malone that we had on taught them in school. Him and Blake in school.
That's right.
And Chad made the statement. He said, "Man, think about it. He took the weight,
of
the
everything.
entire weight of this world to that tree.
That's it.
We think we have weight on our shoulders. We think we have anxiety. We think we have worry and confusion and rejection, disappointment, anger. I can't. I mean, when he said that day, Todd, I had thought about that before.
It's like a light switch went off.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
You've heard it, and you've had that kind of thought, but all of a sudden, all at this one time, bang, alive
How many
and active.
times you go in and you read something in the Bible you've read 100 gazillion million quadrillion times, and that one time you're like,
Where did that come from?
listen to this. I've never read this like this before. I don't know how many
Yes.
times I've done that with Ev in there when I'm reading.
So the other one, we're kind of touching on updates, and we got Austin that he has left. He is in Norway, and still he went in utter faith with no return ticket and still raising the funds necessary to continue that journey after this discipleship portion to go on to the mission field. So I can't say it enough. If you feel led to, John has the information to be able to make a contribution in the effort to support Austin and his mission, going to the mission field. And hey, my hat's off to him. I can't imagine at all going on mission and just exactly what that entails. Just no. I appreciate anybody who does greatly, but I guess until I'm called and that still and quiet voice tells me I won't understand it. Yeah.
Have I done something like that with no return ticket, and it's in my testimony? If you want to hear about it, go to the testimony.
Listen.
But I did it.
Yeah.
I did it one time. One time.
Right.
So if you want to give to, it is on my testimony. So there's 4 parts of it. Just go listen to it. And you'll find it.
That's it.
So to donate to Austin, it's donate.stripe.com / just do this. Just go to my, if you're on Facebook, go to my Facebook page and scroll down, and you will see a post that I reposted from Lou Howe. Lou is Lou, Howe, HOWK, or go to Lou's Facebook site. That's his stepfather. Click on the link that I shared and go all the way above, and just at the top of the picture, there's a link there you can go to and give. I will do my best to copy this link in the description below if you want to give, and I'll try to make sure Chad puts it up on the descriptions on Podbean and Apple Tunes. I do know that I saw a message from his mom today that said that he is now, when I posted that up, he was $3,500 away. Brother, I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable with coming to Clewiston without having a way back, much less Norway.
Right. Across the pond.
You're talking about faith. And I don't think we talked about this in his podcast. But when I originally did the phone interview with him before, we just, make sure it was a good fit. We always do.
Right.
He wants to actually be a pilot. He wants to be a missionary pilot.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, you know what? Samaritan's Purse is probably always looking for somebody to fly in the bush in Alaska or somewhere.
Yeah.
So
they always, and I'm sure it's out there, and that's not a small field. I mean, it's small field as far as mission work, but the ones willing to take on the role is small.
So thank you for those of you who have given and donated, man. We appreciate it so much. Austin
Absolutely.
is a tremendous young man. He's a Gold Star son.
Now,
His dad,
for the ones that may not know, give an explanation, because we touched on that in his podcast. But if you don't know, if you're not in that life, what's the explanation behind that, John?
the Gold Star, his dad was killed on active duty during a free fall training exercise. And actually, how I found out about it was through Richie, because Austin's dad was a TAC P, and my oldest son Richie is a TAC P, or I know him as J-Tacs. I mean, that's the job that's part of the job they do. But their actual job description, what they're called, are TAC P. Richie and Joshua, Austin's dad, at Fort Benning worked in the same building, but they were with different units. Austin's dad, the way Richie explained it to me, he did more on the Navy SEAL, Green Beret, the Special Forces side, not
Tip of the spear.
There's special forces and then there's special operations.
Right,
Richie operates more on the special operations side of things. And then he could have went, matter of fact, he had talked about or wanted to go into that side of it. I can't remember what all happened. It's been so long ago. But anyway, they worked in the same building. And the JTAC community have kind of taken this family on still, even though Elisa has remarried. And I think part of what happened with Austin's younger sister that drowned in the pool, please go listen to this podcast. It is powerful. For an 18-year-old kid, what he's been through at this point, man, listen, I wish I had the money to pay the whole thing. But evidently, there were some guys over there doing work and didn't realize that nobody realized they'd left the gate open to the pool, and his young 2.5-year-old sister drowned in the pool that day. And so it wasn't long after his dad passed. So I mean to tell you, when you talk about hit after hit after hit, when I tell you, Todd and I are on here and we're telling you God is no respecter of person. Listen, I thought I had problems, and then you hear something like this, or what you hear J.D. Malone's testimony, being a widower twice.
Yes.
Losing a wife to breast cancer, then losing one to a brain aneurysm. I mean, it's just, you can't make this stuff up. And that's why this podcast exists. It is to bring hope and light
to anybody and everybody who will listen.
Yeah, to bring hope through the hope of Jesus Christ through into your situation through the stories and testimonies of others. If we had a mission statement, it'd be something in there somewhere.
Well, that's why that go-to verse in Revelations 12:11, overcome. I'm turning to it so I don't butcher it. But
it's Corey's podcast. Actually, it's his name is podcast 12:11.
Yep, and it's they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. That's why testimony is so crucial in this walk. It's the encouragement that goes to the ones that relate. I mean, not only to the ones that relate, but to anybody.
Right. And then the one that we picked up on, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
That's right.
And people are like, oh, well, you couldn't go lift a truck. Now, look, man,
it's not about that.
Yeah, just stop it. That's, just stop. That's not what that's saying. And it was amazing that was the verse that Lisa Robertson used in the book when her and Al signed it. So yep. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, we were also talking yesterday about, we've talked about Gapsman several times on this, and that's one of those things that got started in a Dunkin' Donuts on a 6-hour conversation, and now a year and a half later is a blessing to both mine and John's life, with a Bible study that takes place here at the house once a month, and tremendous things work being done through it. But this coming year, I was saying to John, how about we take a walk through Ephesians for the first 6 months, and basically just take a chapter for each meeting and read it and discuss it and see where it lands with people, see how they relate, see how see how we can grow. I mean, the word is active and sharper than any two-edged sword, so it's definitely gonna affect everybody who's sitting there in the discussion. But that's this coming year. Plus, as John and I was talking yesterday, I was also thinking of, all right, well, we've had this group together right at basically a year. I mean, the study's been going 18 months. This group that's together now, we've been together for 12 months, roughly. I mean, 10 to 12 months.
Yep.
So I'm gonna kind of challenge and charge each individual to find a person new to bring and introduce to the Gapsmen and see, just to grow. I mean, it's time. Everybody's got somebody that they can stand in the gap for and introduce to a group that, hey, we will stand there. We will stand the gap. We will reach out. We will check on you. We will lift you up in times of trouble and times of praise. And hey, it's time.
You know, hey, Todd, I want to show you something real quick. I want to change something. Look at this hat. That's one of the very first Let's Talk Fortitude hats we ever made. I found it. I'm like, hey, I still got one.
There you go. It's got the line and it's got the Let's Talk Fortitude.
Yeah.
A lot of people got confused on the old platform we were on when the lion was there in the background and everybody kind of looking at it going, it's a whole lot easier now. Whole lot cleaner. Brian Robinson has done tremendous things with cleaning up our logo and helping support and come along beside and do merchandise for us. So go check out 611 Armory and not only support Brian. I mean, he's got some products out there that are excellent. They've been out for a while. I mean, it's great product. It's Christian based. All funds go to missions, whether you're supporting Brian's, or whether you're buying Let's Talk Fortitude. The Let's Talk Fortitude goes to, outside of paying for the materials, all proceeds go to One Kingdom and their missions arm and furthering the gospel, put the gospel out to every nation in every language, plus their mission arm. So it's out there. Check it out. It's a way to let people know, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's just have a conversation.
Yep. We need to try to get Mike Kellett back on sometime. Maybe talk about One Kingdom again some more. Todd, so Todd he asked me, he said, what do you think about in the Gapsmen? He said, the book of Ephesians has been on my mind about, the next time we meet is just kind of, I forget how you say, you're going to ask everybody to do a chapter.
Right.
Pick a chapter, and it's first come, first serve. And just to kind of talk about what the chapter means to them. And so Todd said, well, and maybe when we record tomorrow, maybe we can just talk and kind of give a 10,000 foot view of Ephesians. And I started reading this morning. And one of the things, man, that I get out of Ephesians is one of the things that I always say. Todd and I talked about this yesterday. He hears me say this, and he says it too. But people are much quicker. Much quicker, is that the right way to say it? I guess hillbilly wise, that works. So, and if you're Appalachia, you'll get it. People are quicker to hear what they see than they are to hear what you say.
Yes.
And because it taught in Ephesians, it talked about, and what I read was talking about faith without works is dead. And, in a couple of these chapters, and it talks about, what our life is supposed to be like. And that's, for my 10,000 foot view for Ephesians, is live it. Live it. Don't be a SMO, which is a Sunday morning only. Right now, I don't go to. Right now, I'm more of a whoa or a WODO, a weekday only, I guess.
Right.
Um,
But you do live stream.
Yeah, I do live stream and that stuff, but right now I'll be honest with you, right now I don't have a church, so VFR is still my home church basically right now. That and Gapsman, that's my Bible study that I go to. I still attend, the WFR Bible. We both WFR Bible study on Tuesdays. I'm not doing the Monday morning one anymore. It just got to be too much. And then I started back after a couple of weeks being off of going back to the Buck Commander podcast or Bible study on Thursdays. So, but live it, man.
And see, that's kind of where I was at whenever I was talking with you. For me, it's 6 chapters. To me, it breaks in half. The first 3 chapters is giving you the background and what he did and why he did it, and that from before time was, this plan was in place. Then the last 3, 4 through 6, is just exactly what you're talking about, the live it side of it. These are the writing examples of how we live this Christian life out. And as I got to reading, I've got just as much highlighted in the first 3 as I do in the last 3, which I guess is a fair assessment because they both carry just the same weight to me. Because if you don't understand exactly what you're being saved from and how bad things are, how can you truly love and adore and walk forward in the blessings of what this life has?
Well,
Fair
it
enough?
tells you, it not only tells you to live it, but it tells you how to live it. And Paul wraps it up in chapter 6 about putting on the full armor of God, where this is a 10,000-foot view. We won't do that. But if you look at chapter 1, like you said,
Yep.
Look at chapter 1 and then go to chapter 6. It starts out, hey, faith without works is dead. Because you're saved, here's what we need to see out of you. Here's what we should be seeing out of you. And then it's like in chapter 6, now Paul's like, well, let me tell you how you do that. Let me tell you how you accomplish that.
Right.
And here's the crazy thing. Everything that he mentions here is Old Testament armor.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if people really think about that much, but that's a Roman soldier's armor.
Yes, but that goes back to what me and you have been talking about for the better part of a year, is when Paul was writing this, yes, he was writing to encourage the church that he had planted at Ephesus, but the only thing he had to pull from was the Old Testament, was the Torah, was those first 5 books plus the Psalms and Proverbs, right? I think I'm understanding that correct. Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't till well after the first century church had been established that they started looking at these writings as the inspired word of God. You said it the best example, I think, that made my mind register. It'd be like someone today writing a letter.
Imagine Phil Robertson.
There you go.
A modern day prophet. That's the way we look at Phil. He's an elder, but Phil's more than just an elder.
He is. He truly is.
You don't do what that man's done in his life since he was converted, and not have a special hand of God,
anointing,
special call.
Yes,
yeah, anointing, exactly. So the way I explained it to Todd is like, imagine Phil Robertson writing a letter to the Church of Clewiston or the Church of Parrish, Florida, and at that time, Paul had that time with Christ on the road to Damascus, but Todd and I talked about, we don't know what other time Christ spent with him, because we know that he didn't walk with him like the disciples did. That we know he didn't do. So,
but Scripture does tell us he spent the 3 years in gaining better understanding in the desert in Arabia.
Exactly. Who else did he put in the desert, Todd? But he was there for 40 years.
Right.
Put Moses in the desert.
Yes.
Had to prepare him. Spoke to him face to face, and he had to put a veil over his face because of the glory of God. People couldn't,
right.
Just had to cover his face. But just imagine, and I'm not saying that at that time it wasn't inspired, because it was, or it wouldn't be now.
Right, right.
But what I am trying to say is that we have to step back and look at this. We have to, when you're sympathetic of what somebody's going through, that means you kind of have sorrow for them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when you have empathy for someone, you put yourself in their shoes. That's the two differences. Being empathetic means you walk their shoes. You're putting yourself in their place. So be empathetic to the first church in Ephesus or Colossae or Thessalonica. And these letters are coming in because Paul's getting reports from the likes of Timothy and others, Barnabas or whoever.
Yep, Silas.
And those names are listed in here.
That's right.
So then Paul, through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, now listen, man, this dude saw Christ face to face. I mean, Christ stopped him on the road to Damascus and said, "Look here, cat. I don't know what you think you're doing, but why are you prosecuting me, man? Why are you fighting against me? You could be a great warrior for the cause of Christ." And guess what he ends up being? A great warrior for the cause of Christ. So if we step back and we look at it in that light, it helps me. It gives me a greater appreciation for the early church, because they had to really and truly rely upon the presence and the indwelling of the Holy Spirit in order to receive and to know and to believe. There is a reason why Christ held out his hands and held them out to Thomas, and he said, "Here, Thomas,
look at my
feel
hands.
the holes in my hands. Put your hand in my side."
Yep.
Then he looks at Thomas and he says, "Thomas, you have seen and believed. But blessed are those who have not seen
yet still believe." That's right. And that's where we're at. Yeah. So
now, if you disagree with me, brother, I mean, you let me. I mean, because listen, I don't have an edge on it. That's just way that's the way I feel and I believe. So,
and that's how our life has worked for the last almost 4 years now.
Yeah, almost 4 years now.
Just having these conversations are the conversations we've had going now, and the encouragement back and forth, and what we talk about here on Let's Talk Fortitude is this type of conversation, ongoing, continual conversation, and not only between the two of us, but between us and all the Gapsmen and us and all those men up there in Monroe, that it's continual conversation. As Proverbs says, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another.
That's right. And I'll tell you something else. Your son said, Zach Hall said, it was probably the second or third meeting we had. It may have just been the second time he had come.
Right.
It was early on when we were doing it.
Right, right.
But Zach was sitting there, and that was it. Towards the end, we were wrapping up. And Zach said, "I just want to tell you all something." And he said, I am so appreciative that when we meet, we don't talk or discuss others.
Right.
This is not a gossip session. We're not here to bash and talk and belittle. He said, we're here to study and to lift each other up and to pray. And I was so blessed, man. And that's the way it has always been. That's the way it's always been. And I think that's why God blesses it. And I think if it ever turns into something else, it'll die. But I don't ever see that happening, because if I'm going to drive 2 hours, a little over 2 hours to Clewiston,
Right.
we're gonna get down and dirty in the Word, and we're gonna have some good fellowship. And we're gonna eat, get our belly full. We're gonna pray. We're gonna cry on each other's shoulders. We're gonna share, and we're gonna encourage one another.
What is it that mutual mentor says? We're going to get knee to knee, and we're going to get serious. And with the recent job details of my work, I got a whole better understanding of that whole conversation about being knee to knee.
I gotta call him, man. I need to call him.
I know he's doing great. I see him on the Monday morning zooming in, and every time I reach out to him, he's the same as he always is.
Oh, yeah. I try to call him or send him a message or something periodically.
That's right. And for those of you who don't know, we're talking about J.J. Salas, and you can look back into the history and catch his podcast and find out all about J.
You could probably count right here out of 70, this will be number 78 or 79.
Right.
Podcasts. You can probably count on both hands, maybe one hand. Hey, well, Dave, where are you going?
She's getting her a chair.
Okay, get you a chair. That's our surprise guest. You could probably count on one or both hands. I probably both hands. One hand. The amount of times, out of those 78 podcasts, how many podcasts we have not mentioned JJ?
Well, I mean, you look at, I'm not raising JJ above any standard.
No.
But what I am doing is encouraging what he did in being a kingdom-minded man, and said to each of us, y'all need to get people down there.
Yeah,
to be able to encourage each other. And he made the introduction of John and myself, and it's been just like this walk has been. It hasn't been the same ever since.
Yep.
But
after 6 hours at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. We were talking about the possibility of having a drop-in guest, and sitting here with me now is my wife, Amanda.
Amanda, pull your chair up there beside Todd.
What makes you think
Todd, move that mic in there between the two of you. Well, put that mic, so I don't know which way
in the center.
There you go. Yeah.
You have to be kind of close to the mic for it to pick up.
I don't know, Todd. She's had practice yelling at you, so she might
not have a problem at all.
Well, she might not have no voice, but it's like my wife. She has to yell at me so much. No, she doesn't. I'm just
that's a different discussion for a different podcast.
Hey, listen. So just like like we were talking earlier, I've always told Amanda, you have an open invitation. You don't ever have to ask. You, whenever you're ready, you come on. And Amanda, one of the things Todd and I have been talking about is 2025. We're going to make a commitment to have more women, more ladies on the podcast, because we feel like I don't want to lose that viewer, that side of it, because there's a lot of women out there that have just as a tremendous story as any male does, and women need discipleship just like men do. Period. So welcome for the first time, Amanda. So Amanda, I heard and Todd, I hope it's okay that I say this. If it's not, I'm not cutting it out. I'm going to get you in trouble on the camera.
Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time.
That you've been asked to jump into leadership.
I have.
And that your last trip to West Monroe had a little bit of something to do with some of that too.
It did. So I kind of went up there. Todd always likes to go up to, West Monroe for guidance and refreshing. And I decided in May of last year that it was time for us to take a trip to West Monroe, but it was mainly for me. But Todd didn't know that. I needed refreshing and just to be around people I knew that, cared about me and would encourage me and so on and so forth. And one of the ladies up there, Jerry Ann, I kind of cornered her a little bit after one of the Bible studies and explained to her that I was having a hard time fitting in at our new church, that I didn't feel like I was connecting with anybody and wasn't, making friends, and just kind of felt like they weren't real warm and welcoming. And, everybody knows Todd drugged me there kicking and screaming. I wasn't ready to leave where we were, even though it was time for a change. I didn't want to change. It's like Todd and I were talking about, was it this morning?
Yeah.
Or yesterday?
Yes.
That I'm okay with change as long as I'm the one making the change. But if somebody's trying to change something for me, I'm not okay with it. But anyway, so Jerry Ann basically told me that I needed to quit sitting in the chair with my arms crossed and pouting when I get to church, and be what I want them to be. Show them what I want them to do, and do it with others, and stop waiting on them to come to me, but start going to them. And I did, and that was in May, and here we are in January, and it takes a while for me to get to my seat to sit down because I've got so many people I'm talking to now and have connected with. And so I joined this group at our church. Is called Awakenings Women's Ministry. And it's basically, the best way to describe it is it's a group with women who have any kind of a hurt, habit, or hang up. Any kind of past hurts or things. I can't discuss things that we discuss in the class, but it has been great for friendships, Bible studies, and it's just really been nice. And that's the class that they want me to start helping with leadership in.
So whenever I was part of Promise Keepers, one of the things that we did was that was back when we first started men's groups, where we had small groups. That's one thing Bill McCartney and his group really encouraged. And Evie would always say, well, or the way it was, Evie didn't really ask me, but I would tell guys, I'd say, look, don't come in here and tell me anything that your wife doesn't already know. And I hate to be that, and I mean, that's just the way it is, because I don't want to have to have the burden on me that if I let something slip accidentally in front of your wife, that it's going to be a surprise to her.
Right.
And if there should be no secrets between a husband and wife anyway. So that way, what that also did was that allowed a trust and a bond between the husband and wife. Whenever he or we would go to those men's groups, we knew that it wasn't a time for them to come there and share things with us that they weren't sharing at home, or we weren't sharing at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way it can work. Because if let's say Todd thought you were going there and confiding in those women of something that's going on that you didn't feel like you could confide in him with. Now, sometimes you have friends who do that. I get it. But for the most part, if you're, just imagine if you'd go into that church and you'd share something, and then one-on-one somebody just happened to go by Todd and say, hey, Todd, I'm praying for you and Amanda in this situation. And like, Todd's like, what situation are you talking about? Well, you see what I'm saying?
I do.
So you have to be careful so that it's not a catch-22.
But that's one thing about our group is
River roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good.
And because we want to be a safe place. We want to be a safe place where women can come and share, and if they're in crisis mode or, that's what we're there for. So we're more of a safe place kind of thing, just trying to help you get through things that have happened in life and that might still have happening in life right now. And, just try to lead them, just to the Bible and, how would God want you to handle this, and just try our best to guide them that way. But we're more of a safe place kind of thing because, but there's not allowed to be discussion as far as outside of the class. Anything that we hear stays in there, and you actually have to sign a contract stating that what you hear here stays here, because it keeps our story safe and it keeps their story safe.
No, I get it, 100%, 100%. Case in point, I got some girl trying to call me on WhatsApp. Block.
Hey.
I only have it because of Richie and Michelle.
Well,
So
you're getting
that's crazy. We're sitting here having this conversation, and that's what pops up on my phone.
They
right.
the way.
So I come to find out that in one of the groups I've been in through the years, that one of the guys that was in there was very abusive, physically abusive to his wife. And at the time, we had no idea. There were some signs that showed, now that I look back on it, years later, I look back on it now, and I can say, I see it now, that I just wasn't, it just wasn't it wasn't time, it wasn't for me to say something, I guess, is why it just didn't get revealed. But,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, I get it. If you've got a lady in there that's being abused or something, you know, you definitely gotta stay close to the vest, man. I mean,
It's great though, just to have a group of women that we all know that we can lean on, and I mean, just like, we keep our group chat going almost all day, daily, with different things that we're, hey, can you pray for me for this? This is going on, or it's just nice to have that support. But had it not have been for Jerry and basically telling me to
suck it up, Buttercup.
quit sitting there with my arms crossed and pouting because nobody wants to talk to me.
So basically what she said was, make yourself, listen to me. Boy, I am
You're doing great
hillbillying it out tonight,
You
man.
are awesome.
I have got that Appalachian hillbilly. I tried to put captions up here at the bottom, I guess. You made yourself available.
Yes.
And that, a lot of times we don't do that. And imagine that, somebody telling you to suck it up, Buttercup, at West Monroe. I mean, you can't have a Robertson family go to church there and people wear their feelings on their shirt sleeve. That ain't going to happen. You ain't going to be there. And I think the church has been so successful over the years is because people are honest.
Yeah. And as I told Jerry, and I said, unfortunately for everybody, whenever you have experienced WFR, you go to other churches, and that's what you expect. And when you don't walk into it, it's like, this is not the way this is supposed to be. But they're just very special up there, and they're good at teaching you what you need to take it with you to other places. But you've got to be willing to share what you've learned and share what you've seen. And come to find out, our new church wasn't bad. I just wasn't involved. I wasn't open. I wasn't involved. I would literally, John, I'd walk in and I would just walk straight to my seat and sit down. That's it.
Her seat.
My seat.
Her seat.
I have become that person. But but since I've stopped doing that, it's much more enjoyable. I look forward to it. I had to stop being who I was and be who I needed to be.
I look back when the first couple of times I come there, and I remember when you all were attending somewhere else. I a great man. I love him to death.
Yeah, we were attending Cowboy Church of Pioneer at the time, and it was great
for us for
the season.
For the season we were in. It was great. Yeah. So.
I just didn't know if y'all wanted to mention it on here or not, so I'm just trying to be respectful.
They're great people. They are absolutely wonderful Christian people, and they got a great ministry going.
Yep.
But for the season we were in, it had run its course, and that's part of this life.
Yep, exactly.
God moves you.
So now that and Todd and I were talking about JJ, and Todd and I kept saying, we want to bring the same type of atmosphere revival that's in West Monroe to Florida. Well, gotta be careful about saying that because we're not West Monroe.
That's right.
We're Parish, and we're Clewiston and LaBelle.
Yes.
So we want God to do what God wants to do through us here,
wherever our foot is on the ground.
Exactly.
This is how I feel about it. When Todd first came to God, we did not have a home church. We live streamed with WFR and then made every trip possible we could up to Louisiana, which everybody couldn't believe that we would drive 16 hours just to go to church. We would be on the road longer than we would be in Louisiana just to get there, Then we
Exactly.
found a home church here, still live streaming with WFR, even though we had found a home church here. And then after getting involved in the men's retreats for him and having him harp on me about, you need to go, you need to go, you need to go. So I finally went, which was the best thing I could have ever done. But after being involved with the retreats and the people that we've met and so on and so forth, we've been equipped to learn how to bring that here. And I'm not saying that bring the same thing they have there, because the atmosphere is going to be different. The needs here are different. The people here are different, so, but we've learned how to approach it, how to bring it here, the right words to use, the way to present it. So, yeah. So anyways, I think that, we don't need to try to copy what's up there. We just need to use the tools that we've been given to make our own place down here.
You know what I think they do so well there? They love people.
Exactly
accept
where
people.
they're at is love you where you're at, walk alongside you, live life with you, and through that and through time, Christ does what Christ does, and he changes everybody he comes in contact with.
Now, are they a mega church?
Nope.
With
Nope.
12 services, 15 campuses?
Nope.
No. But are they a Christ-centered, gospel-preaching, Jesus-loving, acceptance,
Kingdom-focused.
love your neighbor as you do yourself? Absolutely. And they are worldwide.
Yes.
Worldwide. So yes, in a sense, they are probably one of the largest mega churches out there.
That's a fair assessment.
It is, even though they're not like some mega churches. I see where you're going. So, and that's one thing that I like about
by being small.
Mm-hmm.
Huge by being small.
Yes. And that's one thing I like about Christ Central is our pastor will tell you all the time. He makes a comment about he's been talking to people in town and they're like, why are you talking to her? She's a prostitute. And he'll
No.
No, she's not. She's my friend.
She's my friend.
My friend. She's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's mom. She's my friend. And you will not call her that, Don't care. Love you through whatever it is. That's how they are here. And I love that about them. You can come in off of the streets. Don't matter if you just got high and you want to come in and get some help or be worshiped to, come on in. We got a seat for you, and then that's what I like about them. So part of what I like about them. So anyways, I'm growing.
Well, I got a question to ask you. Will you come back and do your testimony?
Oof.
We're recording, so whatever you say, we're going to hold you to it.
As she backs away from the microphone and starts.
And it doesn't have to be tomorrow. We don't have to say, we're going to come back in 30 minutes.
This is where,
when you're ready.
I'm not I guess because I'm not somebody who's recovering from addiction or
Then this is the right place for you.
this or whatever. I feel like I don't have a testimony, but then I'm told that.
Are you a sinner saved by grace?
Absolutely.
Did Jesus die for you on the cross like he did me?
Absolutely.
So if he did, what do you have in your life? You have a habit, a hurt, or a hang-up of some kind. If not, Jesus didn't need to die for you.
Oh, I'm loaded with habits, hurts, and hang-ups. There's no doubt about that one. But
Grant Taylor, somebody that everybody looks at and says, man, I wish I grew up in a Christian home like Grant. And Grant said, I really don't have a testimony. But he does, because Marty Goff, who came on and talked to my next door neighbor, who talked about her book, she came on and now she'll tell you her dad was a pastor, but there were struggles.
Yep.
Amanda, not everybody out there is a meth, crack, marijuana, opioid. Did you ever smoke?
No.
Like smoke marijuana?
Well, you are perfect. No, I'm just joking.
You mean smoke cigarettes?
Yes.
Heck no.
What about, did you ever chew tobacco?
No.
You know, when I was in high school, I think I dated one or two girls that didn't rub snuff.
Oh yeah, they're out
I'd
there.
rather they rub snuff and smoke.
They did that here in the high school here in Clewiston. There was girls that would, what is it, dip or whatever it is?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it. Have you ever pinned your testimony?
I will. Have I what?
Pinned it, wrote it down.
Yes. I don't
Then
have
you got
to
a
write it
testimony.
down.
If
I
you
know
didn't have
where-
a testimony, you wouldn't have nothing to write.
Yeah, I've got quite a few pages written,
Have I
actually.
put enough guilt on you yet? Hey, listen. Me and Todd and Amanda, we got this
You want to talk about
relationship.
guilt? Well, we'll do that off camera.
I got it. It's right here, so you can't say that tonight. I got that one. I've got this one. I've got 3 Bibles and my phone out here tonight.
He knew you were coming on here tonight.
Wanted to make sure he was armed and ready.
That's
So
right.
everybody, if you hear about, if you've heard us talk about Amanda giving me a hard time about having my Bible on the podcast, this is Amanda.
That's right.
But we would.
Yes, John. I will.
We'd love to have you, and it doesn't
I
have. Listen, it can be in time when you're ready. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be tomorrow.
You know,
and
it's
it doesn't have to be 12 hours or 2 hours. I mean, it can be 35, 40, 45, 50, 55,
Yeah.
60, 65. No, I'm just joking.
I'm fine with it. I'm okay with doing it.
Because what am I doing?
Got all kinds of things going on.
The hillbilly coming out in you.
I was rubbing the dust off my laptop and I hit something. And it didn't
Tech savvy.
Don't touch anything. Just let it go.
Deep subject.
Got some phone calls to make by guests.
Oh yeah.
We're going to get
Absolutely.
Austin's mother on.
So Austin was the young man.
Yes, I remember.
Did Todd tell you we talked to his mom after we got off
No.
stopped recording?
She
sat down and talked to us for a while.
We invited her to be on, and as far as we know, it's to come to have her on and her story.
What about y'all had talked at one time about having us wives on, talking about how all the great improvements that you guys make when you're at the retreats and how much we enjoy having y'all for a while back home after you come home.
That would be one that your husband would have to organize. He's the one that's friends with those guys. Those are his. He's
They're
with
your
Biggs
people
and
too,
Colin
John.
and those guys. Huh?
They're your people too. They're not his people.
Yeah, but my wife's not going to be on.
Oh, well,
Eventually, she will be.
yeah.
I'm saying that knowing it.
Not ready yet. That's all.
I'm knowing that fact. I see the evidence of work
Well,
just from the things that you tell me.
yeah. I mean, I understand her hurt, man,
Oh yes, absolutely.
and it
Yes,
goes further than just the church. I mean,
yep, it does.
I mean, you spend that much time, that many years, and
Yep.
it's
But yes, that what she talked about the wives of myself and Colin and Brent Acord and Biggs,
Yeah.
Chris Arrell, all of us coming together and having our wives with us and discussing the men they get back from these retreats, and then how that walks out and blesses forward and beyond measure, beyond thought, beyond what you can comprehend.
Has his wife been to a retreat?
She's been a director.
Been a director.
What about Brent Acord's wife?
Almost sure she has.
What about Biggs?
Not real sure. But the discussion is based on the men they get back from the retreat. How different it looks.
Right, but I was just wondering, maybe the guys could flip that too and say, hey, when the wives came back,
Right.
it was, that's why I
An
was
equal
asking.
discussion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Todd's not going to look at you, man, and say, if you didn't come back as good as I come back.
I didn't. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't.
Well,
I didn't.
I now have a better understanding of why and how Jace gets so quiet when Missy's on.
Todd is squirming, boy.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not
funny. I
going to
never
tell
thought about
everybody how
that.
you called me a strange creature this morning. It's okay. We had quite
That's
the
hilarious.
discussion. We had quite the discussion this morning because I, for some reason, did not think that a fish was an animal. Or no, I said, is fish meat?
Right.
That's what I said.
That's where the conversation got started.
And he's like, what? So then we had to go down a rabbit hole about fish being an animal and so on. So
If you're eating the flesh of an animal, it's meat. It's called meat.
I just thought that fish were in a different category than
Meat.
animals. So
I don't
They're
know. Are
fish.
they're not considered a reptile, are they? Part of the reptile family?
No,
there it actually says it's a fish. I mean, it's an animal.
a mammal.
Huh.
So,
You just
and
taught
there's
me
only
something. I didn't
one
know.
fish in the world that they've been able to find so far that is a warm-blooded fish.
Right.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
So anyways, so that was quite the experience with a discussion. Then we talked about how
I can't wait to hear more about this one off
then I
camera.
made a comment about being and he knows that I'm unpredictable and he says, well, you know, God made when God made woman, he made a strange creature. I said strange and unpredictable do not relate. It's not the same.
Then we got into a whole discussion on strange and unpredictable, and there was
the definition
there was
of
some
each and the similarity.
there was some similarities in the two
All right.
words.
So I got a joke. I told my mother-in-law years ago. We'll end on this and then we'll get out of here. So I love my mother-in-law. We have a tremendous relationship. And I told her one day, and I said, Glenda, I said, did you ever hear about the man that rubbed this pot and the genie popped out? When the genie come out, he said, you get 3 wishes, but whatever you wish for, your mother-in-law gets double. So he made it the first wish come up. He said, well, I tell you what, man, I'd like to have a couple $1 million. He said, all right. Your mother-in-law, she got $4 million. He said, well, you know, I was a big Elvis fan back in the day, and I always did want a pink Cadillac. Bet. You got 2. Mother-in-law got 2 Cadillacs. Pink, just like Elvis. He said, how long do I have before I have to make my last wish? He said, take as long as you want. Just rub the genie bottle. But be careful not to wish for something. So he went off for a while, a few weeks. He come back. He rubbed the old genie bottle. And genie popped out. And he said, have you thought about your final wish? He said, yeah. He said, be real careful, man. This is your last one. He said, what is it? He said, I want you to beat me half to death.
I've heard that before.
That is horrible.
Glenda said, you were at the top of my list, but you are at the bottom now, boys.
No doubt about
Anyway,
it.
folks, on that, we're going to say good night. We love you, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
That's right.